And welcome to the Excite training module for remote access to the computing facilities available at Chess. Here we're going to talk about why we even care to use them remotely, um, how to go about it through two different mechanisms with different strengths and weaknesses, and how to decide which one is an appropriate um, solution to whatever problem we're trying to solve at the particular time. It's like everything in engineering, it's a matter of trade-offs. So let's take a look at what we have. The internal network at Chess, the class computing facility, much of it operates on its own network, isolated from the internet as a whole. There is a means of accessing that private network from outside. It's called a virtual private network, the VPN. Same thing that we use to watch Doctor Who episodes a year in advance. The exact same thing is what's going on here. Um, the VPN software is PRI Tunnel, and I'm going to run that application right now. PRI Tunnel pops up. It's I've gone through the setup instructions that are on the class wiki. With setup, click on connect, put in the uh, class chess account password that you have. And now it has set up a logical encrypted network. Any traffic now that my personal Macintosh right here wants to send all the way up the East Coast to Cornell, go into the class computing facilities, any of that traffic is encrypted, goes up to a server at class, and then it's unencrypted, decrypted, and put onto the internal network there. So for practical intents and purposes, I now have an Ethernet cable about 700 miles long running from my desktop right here to where Class's computers are in Ithaca. Um, Logically speaking, that's what's going on. In reality, no. But logically speaking, as far as we're concerned, I'm now plugged into that network. Okay, so I'm connected. How do I use some of the facilities that are up there? All right, so one that's going to be very important to us is the Linux computing cluster. Multiple servers running Linux, as the name implies, Linux. If you've been around a long time, you probably know anyway, Linux is just another form of an operating system, originally known as Unix. Dates back to late 1973, to give you an idea. It's more or less pretty stable technology at this point, pretty well understood. Um, so if I want to connect back to a resource there, there's a particular server that is used as the gateway to access all the other servers in that cluster. And that machine's name is LNX 201. You're going to see that a lot, don't worry. And that's also in the written materials for this. Um, so I want to connect to that server, and I want to be able to start uh, running some jobs there, maybe do some small stuff on that server. If I have a big problem, a big complicated simulation or something, use that to set it up so that it can run out somewhere else. We'll talk about why that's important as we go. So let's take a look. Okay, URL nomachine.class.cornell.edu. We'll let that run. Okay, so it's connected. This is a software service that allows that gives me the feeling of my keyboard and mouse and screen are actually, it feels like they're connected to that server. Okay. Like I had a 700-mile long monitor, keyboard, and mouse cable. Um, Again, it's all done, logically, not physically, but it works mostly the same way. Okay, so I'm going to actually log in to the NoMachine server. I'm going to give it the class password. So it's to give my username and my password, a sequence that you're going to be seeing a lot of if you haven't already. Many resources offered through Cornell are authenticated using two-factor authentication. Okay, meaning that when you log in, when you authenticate to say, yes, I really am E. Scott, um, two, two factors means there has to be two ways of identifying me. One of them is something that I know, that's my password. And another one is, in this case, something that I have, which is the Duo client installed, it doesn't show, on my laptop, on my cell phone. So what I'm going to do is say, yeah, I'm going to use that Duo app on my phone. I just typed in one. It doesn't show, it just shows a dot. But I typed in one. I'll hit return. Authentication. I waited too long. Let me start over. Yeah, you actually have to type this somewhat quickly. Okay, so I've got my message from Duo that says, "Hey, somebody's trying to log in with your username. Is that? Yeah, the background isn't working well. Is that really you?" I'm going to click on the green approve button, and yep, that's approved. And okay, I'm logged into the NoMachine server. Really small server. Really, it's enough to handle desktop sessions. It's not designed for doing real work. It's designed for just getting you connected to machines in class that you can use for real work. And in fact, some of these servers and some of these computers that are already configured, there's several of them here, but the one that we're really interested in is this LNX 201. And there's some other stuff after TS means it's configured as a terminal server. Red Hat indicates the type of type of Linux installation that it has. There's a couple of desktop sessions already running, but it can handle dozens and dozens. That's not a problem. So I'm going to double click on that LNX 201, and it's going to start connecting to it. And I'm going to, really keep things simple. I'm going to take the defaults almost everywhere. So I'm going to say, all right, sure, give me a virtual desktop connection. I don't want to try to customize anything. It's going to give me 4 quick screenfuls of some basic introduction and a couple of checkboxes I can configure if I need to. And it's just telling me, hey, once this thing's running, if you need to get to a menu to control things, it's going to be in that upper right corner, or you can press Control Alt 0. You get some icons across the bottom edge of the screen. That's what those are. Okay, little reminder screen there. That's handy. You got another one telling you, hey, here's cut and paste. Here's how to change your display settings, things like that. All that fun stuff, right? So, I just leave it, take the defaults, honestly. It works. One thing I do change, it's probably going to, because I've logged in a lot of times and it's kind of, I've already set my defaults. Um, it's probably going to suggest show the remote desktop at the resolution it wants to be at, and then use scroll bars so you can move the screen around on your laptop and make it fit. And some people love that. Apparently, most people do. I don't know. You can configure an enormous desktop that way, and then just kind of move around on it. For some people, that's a natural way of working. I don't. I like to just set it to scale the remote desktop to fit the window, and I got reading glasses. If the text gets too small, I'm old. I just gonna squint and get closer to the screen. It works. So I'm gonna select scale the remote desktop to fit. Then one last trick. This is for setting customized resolution desktop sizes. And frankly, just take the defaults, which are established when you connect, and it works. So I just don't resize the remote display because I'm really not doing really fancy stuff this way. If I was trying to do really complicated scientific visualization, I would probably sit here and tune all these options, and I'd lose an entire workday getting it just right because I'm that kind of person. But anyway, I'm going to tell it don't resize the remote display. Okay. And let it chug for a moment. It is connecting me. Great. Put in class password. And I was already logged in before. I cheated. And normally this window wouldn't be here because the first time you log in, it won't be here. Um, but this is still left over from other work. What I'll do is I'll just close that out, pretend. Okay, this is what it's going to look like when you first log in. The applications menu, you've got, it's like a basic installation of any modern operating system, Windows, Mac OS, anything like that. Um, the whole start button concept is pretty widely used throughout everything now. Lots of things are in here. Probably the one you will use the most, hands down, is Terminal Emulator. Um, it is a program that sits there and it acts like a terminal, not even a full computer from the 1980s. The keyboard sends characters to something, and whatever it's connected to sends characters back, and it displays them, right? So you've got, if you've worked with us before on a Mac, particularly on a Mac, this is going to be extremely familiar. It's similar enough to the command window on Windows that you're going to feel pretty comfortable with it. We're going to spend the entire next section of this module talking about using the command line and a little bit about how to write your own programs, standalone programs, and we'll look at a couple other topics that are kind of the intersection of the two. So most of the time, the most common application you're probably going to use is a terminal emulator, and you can start lots of it, by the way. It's not unusual at all, right? So if I want to take a look at what files I have. So I do ls and see what files I have. And over here, if I want to see how big one is, right, I can do independent things in the two different. That entire file is 6 words and 72 characters. I can do independent things in the two windows. These, you can start as many terminal windows as you want, and they're independent. There are a lot of graphical applications. It's not, just people writing scientific software, reads a few characters, writes a few lines, things like that. There are full-fledged GUI applications. Like I'm going to start the file browser. I'm going to double click on my home folder there, and you get a file explorer type of interface that is extremely familiar. You have probably seen this in every operating system you've used. It's, yeah, it's a pretty natural way of working. Finally, there are some applications in the Linux cluster environment that aren't on the applications menu. I don't. I'm going to use an example of one don't think is on the menu, but Mathematica at a command line prompt. Just type Mathematica and hit return. And give it a minute. Hey, it's starting up. Here's its splash screen. Let's start a new workbook document. Just have to remember how to do this because it's different from Python. Let's see if I did that right. Nope. Okay. Where did I put it? What called? Ah, yes. Let's see. What? Eh, all right. I should edit this part out. I actually did this before and I wrote it down. I'm going to confess I haven't used Mathematica in about a year. The syntax is just different enough to keep me confused. Um, but I mean, okay, you see it drawing pictures, right? It's not just a command line tool. So this NoMachine, it gives you a way of accessing these remote services and seeing the graphics that they can produce, either regular user interfaces like file manager, file browser kind of things, or application programs that attempt to draw pretty pictures and will when I remember the syntax. But there is another way. Um, let's let that quit. There is another way to access these things. First thing I'm going to do, let me log out of here. I'll click on my username and log out. Yes, I want to log out. And then it'll log me out. And I'm going to log in through a completely different means. I'm on a Mac, so I'm starting up a program terminal. On Windows, you would use the command window. And there's examples in the accompanying write-up for both of these. I'm gonna make this font bigger. How's that? Um, so this is on my local machine. Still got PRI tunnel running, so I'm still logically connected to the internal network. It means that I can connect to it remotely through taking this computer's terminal window, terminal emulator that's running, and connecting that terminal emulator to the LNX 201 server at class. By doing that, I have character based. You send characters, receive characters, print them on the screen. Not graphics, pure text. But I have that from here to Cornell, and it's generally pretty responsive, generally pretty quick, especially compared to full-fledged remote desktops. But you don't have any access to graphics. So I'm going to SSH to my username at that shift to that commercial @ sign, lnx201.class.cornell.edu. Okay. Give my password, and once again, it's saying, oh, hey, two-factor authentication. Enter 1 to say I want Duo. My phone just vibrated and said, hey, somebody's trying to log in. Is that you? Yes, yes, it is. All right, and now I'm logged in. This is this terminal session is now interacting directly with the LNX 201 server, and the characters that I type here, it's just like I would have been at Cornell, sitting in front of that server in a server room somewhere with a keyboard plugged into it. And I can use it like a normal machine. I can see who all's logged on, right? There's 20 users on that server right now. The last 15 seconds there were about 5 active things, but over the last few minutes, it's really not all that busy, lightly loaded. You can actually see a little bit what people are doing, including yourself. So if you have multiple SSH sessions or multiple virtual desktop sessions, sometimes this is handy. Take a look and see, am I actually doing what I thought I did? It gives you a little peek into what's going on. Handy thing, handy thing. When you're done, again, you want to log out, and the exit command works fine. Exit says connection to that server is closed. And now I'm back with commands in my local Macintosh. Pretty straightforward. Doesn't do a whole lot. It's got a couple other tricks that it can do, mentioned at the end of the write-up, but aren't critical to what we're doing. With fairly limited scope, it works really well. It's, like I said, fairly quick, responsive. A good way to work if everything you're doing is text-based. And quite often everything you're going to be doing is text-based. So, I mean, my recommendation, use SSH when you can. And then NoMachine for those tasks where you really actually do want a graphical environment. All right. We will take this newfound knowledge that we're comfortable with for how to connect to these remote servers. You saw me do a couple of little commands here at the command line, but kind of glossed over them. That changes in the next module. We will be talking a lot about the various command line tools and how to take advantage of them. See you then.